Alright, welcome back to the channel. Warhammer Man back in the studio, and we've got a big one today. Today is a game changer for Kill Team, but before we get to that, I'd like to remind you to make sure to like and subscribe. If you watch more than a couple of my videos, you pretty much know what you're getting. If you like all kinds of reactions, reviews, news, unboxings, painting tutorials, modeling tutorials, anything like that to do with Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and warcry content as well, like and subscribe helps out the channel. I appreciate everybody that does like and comment on the videos, as it has definitely been helping with exposure lately, and I've been basically growing parabolic, and I know that's because of you guys. But that being said, we got some great news, especially for Kill Team players. Let's jump right in. The Legionary Butcher might just be the deadliest operative in Kill Team. So Kill Team Nachmund obviously coming out this week. So coming for pre-orders this weekend, featuring the super speedy Corsair Void Guard and the Chaos Legionnaires, quite possibly the deadliest Kill Team release so far. To prepare your operatives for the task, there's a new balanced Dataslate for Kill Team featured below, containing important updates for several key teams. As you might expect from warp-infused super soldiers, these heretic astartes are capable of putting out some eye-watering damage. None show this off better than the Legionary Butcher, owner of this rather impressive two-handed axe who can potentially kill as many as 3 enemy operatives in a single activation. So here we see the Legionary Butcher. He has a standard Space Marine or Chaos Space Marine Dataslate. Move is 3 circles, 6 inches. APL is 3. GA is 1. DF is 3, save is 3+, and wounds are 12. He has a regular bolt pistol, and then also has this unique weapon, the double-handed chain axe, which 1 looks awesome, comes on the new Chaos upgrade sprue, but 2, it is very, very strong. One of the strongest, if not the strongest melee weapons so far. So it is 4 attacks. It is 4+ weapon skill ballistic skill, so it's -1 to hit. Normally you would hit on a 3+ with him. He's actually going to hit on a 4+, so it's -1 for him to be hit. And we know with 4 attacks, he's going to be hitting 50% of the time. He's probably going to get 2 hits per attack, which isn't great, but it does so much damage, it is. So the damage is 5-7. So 5 for a regular hit, 7 for a critical hit, and it has a Vicious Blows ability, and then Reap 2. So the recipe for slaughter begins with the Mark of Khorne, one of the heretical upgrade available to the Legionary Kill Team. You then start the turning point by activating the Blood for the Blood God strategy employ and charge the Butcher into as many foes as he can reach. This all but ensures that at least 1 critical hit, doing a chunky 8 damage, enough to crush these pesky Corsairs in 1 swing. The axe also carries the Reap 2 ability, so those critical hits will inflict 2 mortal wounds on anything foolish enough to be standing nearby. So let's look at all these different abilities, and then we can just kind of walk through from there. So first, the Reap ability, as stated, Reap X, which in this case is Reap 2. Each time a friendly operative fights in combat with this weapon, in the resolve successful hit step of the combat, if you strike with a critical hit, inflicts X mortal wounds on each other enemy operative visible to the friendly operative and within triangle of it, or the target operative. X is the number that the Reap. Okay, so it doesn't hit the initial guy that you strike, but it hits every other guy within triangle. So essentially, now we have, obviously, let's look at the rest of these abilities and then we'll come back to it. We have Blood for the Blood God as 1 command point until the end of the turning point each time a friendly Khorne operative fights in combat. In the resolve successful hit step of the combat, if it performed a charge action during the activation, the first time it strikes, inflict 1 additional damage. So on the first hit against the first guy, it's automatically going to do either 6 or 8 damage. 6 on a regular, 8 on a critical. So by this point, you've unceremoniously cut down 1 enemy operative and likely dished out a deluge of mortal wounds to another. But we promise you that as many as 3 skulls for the Skull Throne, so here's where the rest come from. Play the Hateful Assault strategic ploy to fight twice, eviscerate anybody standing next to your unfortunate victim, and even if there's a crowd of targets around the Butcher, his devastating onslaught ability forces each enemy operative to fight without the support of their comrades. So that's what his devastating onslaught ability is. I guess maybe from Vicious Blows. I'm not sure. They don't list that anywhere specifically. But Hateful Assault is 1 command point until the end of the turning point each time a friendly Legionary operative is activated. If it does not perform a shoot action during that activation, it can perform 2 fight actions. So essentially what it comes down to, there's one other ability that they don't show specifically on here, which is the Mark of Khorne. So if we just switch over to that real quick, Khorne, Wrathful Onslaught. Each time this operative fights in combat, in the resolved successful hit step of that combat, if you did not retain any critical hits, you can strike with one normal hit as if it were a critical hit. And then obviously we know the Blood for the Blood God. So his regular ability from Khorne means he charges in, he gets 2 attacks. The likelihood, where he gets 4 attacks rather. The likelihood of rolling a 6 is like 66%, because he's going to roll 4 dice, and the likelihood is maybe he doesn't roll a 1 or doesn't roll a 6. He's probably going to hit with a 4 and a 5. Maybe he does get a 6, etc., whatever. But the first time he strikes, one of his regular hits can become a critical hit. So even if he just gets 2 regular hits, he can turn 1 regular hit into a critical hit. Or if he just rolls a critical hit straight up, it doesn't do anything special. So he's almost indefinitely going to hit once, which means he'll get at least 1 critical hit. So when he hits with a critical hit for 7, if you use this for the extra damage, he'll hit for 8 with a single strike, and then he'll do Reap 2, so 2 mortal wounds to anybody else that's close by. So he has potential to dish out, let's say there's 2 guys bunched up or 3 guys bunched up, he can dish out a couple mortal wounds to each of the other guys. But he can do 8 damage with that first strike. And then after the first strike, after the 8 damage, you resolve the remainder of the combat. If he kills a guy in 1 blow, that's it. If not, he strikes with his second hit and most likely kills, just about anything. Because that would basically be 8 and 5, 1 critical hit and 1 regular hit. So that's going to do a total of 13 damage. That'll wax like anything other than like a custody or, something massive. So at that point in time, he's probably wiped out whatever he was fighting. And then you can Hateful Assault and fight a second time. So the Blood for the Blood God is really only relevant if whatever you're fighting would be killable with that 1 extra damage. Otherwise, it's probably not worth doing. So if you're assuming that you're going to fight something that has 8 wounds right off the bat, it might be worth doing the Blood for the Blood God, because that extra damage the first time it strikes would kill him in a single hit, so it won't get to fight back at all. As opposed to if you're going to fight somebody like a regular Space Marine or something like that, you run up, charge in, turn one of your regular hits into a critical hit, or you already rolled a critical hit. You hit him immediately for 7 damage, he strikes you back, and then you hit him again for like 5, or if you have another crit, 7 more damage. It's going to kill him either way, unless they have 13 or more hit points, the Blood for the Blood God. So that's an extra command point that you might not need to spend. So realistically, just the double fight is like a 1 command point ability. So it's actually very good. Does a lot of damage. It's as much as like a Power Claw or something like that. So very good ability. Obviously, a lot of things could fight twice in the game with a command point or whatever. But this is pretty awesome. I really like it. The addition of the Reap, probably not going to come into effect a ton. But if you have like some Tau that are grouped up behind a wall or something, and you're able to get off like a nice charge or something like that, catch them kind of off guard, the Reap can, take guys that have 7 life down to like 5, and they're pretty well injured right off the bat. So at that point in time, it's basically just any little, stiff wind could take him out. So he's very strong. Definitely a good ability. Definitely good to see a new Dataslate, obviously. But more importantly, we have the balanced Dataslate. It says 1 crucial update prevents kill teams from activating more than 2 operatives in a row, where previously they might chain a significant number of activations together. The back and forth action is one of kill team's most exciting features, and now it will never be long before your operatives get to strike back. And then it also says there are more changes to the power to pour over. So take a look at the balance Dataslate and update your kill teams for the next bout in cinematic skirmish action. We're taking a look at even the new rules as we approach Kill Team Nachmund pre-orders this Saturday. I might have skipped the part. Oh, here it is. In the face of such dark power, when even the Loyalist Space Marines' power armor does little to protect them, some kill teams are adding more operatives to their forces. The new balanced Dataslate for Kill Team rounds up a selection of rules updates designed to keep your games fair, fun, and closely contested, and gathers them in a single, easy-to-use download. There is specifically good news contained within for Space Marines, Death Guard, and Craftworld Eldari, who will be able to bring extra bodies to the kill zone. So that is obviously awesome. So let's take a look at what we have here. So here is the balanced Dataslate Q1 2022. This document contains a collection of Q1 updates for the rules of the game balance improvements. So core rules. New core rules. Some rules allow you to activate operatives in succession before your opponent can activate. Regardless of such rules, you can never activate more than 2 operatives in the same turning point before your opponent has had a turn to activate a ready operative to perform Overwatch. So normally, one of your operatives activates, then one of your opponents, or one of your opponents, and then one of yours. So this new rule is crucial. No more chain activations of more than 2 guys. So no matter what rules you have, if you activate a guy and then chain activate a second guy, it's immediately your opponent's turn afterwards. I really like that. I think it's fair. I don't think it's intended for you to have 3 or 4 operatives in a row activate. So then we go on after that, and it kind of doubles down on that. So here's our pathfinders. First, a worthy cause tactical ploy, 2 command points, can only be used once per battle, and only if you don't have the initiative. All right, so let's look at the worthy cause. This is basically, again, I agree with this. I think Pathfinders are very strong. I think all these nerfs in advance, just telling you, are fair. And I think the only reason we haven't seen Pathfinders just absolutely crushing it in the tournament scene is because of the terrain layouts have been tons and tons of complete line of sight blocking like heavy cover. So let's look at worthy cause and let's see how this works, because it kind of got nerfed a couple times. So it was 1 command point before, and now it's 2. It was unlimited times per game, and now it's once per battle. And it was any time you could use it, and now it's only if you have the initiative. And it was able to chain activate multiple guys, and now we know from the core rules that you can only ever have 2 activations in a row. So this got very heavily nerfed, but it's still good. It's just not great. So a worthy cause, 2 command points now. Use this tactical ploy at the start of the firefight phase. Select one ready, friendly Pathfinder operative, excluding a drone operative, that is within square of any enemy operatives or within circle of the center of an objective marker, and activate it. Once that operative has completed its activation, the player who has the initiative activates an operative as normal. So now we know, because of this, you can only use this if your opponent has the initiative. So that's good. It basically lets you get 1 operative activation in, and then it's your opponent's turn. Now, what was happening before was people were winning the initiative with their Pathfinders, and they would get the first activation, and then they were using worthy cause to activate before they got their first activation. So they were basically activating a guy, and then after that activation or chain of activations was over, it was still their turn, and they would get to activate another guy. So now you can still do that, but only if your opponent has first turn. So now you can no longer have the free activation that was about to be yours anyway, and then the worthy cause activation. So that eliminates a lot of the problems right there, right off the bat. But now the actual chain activation itself that people were using worthy cause for was they were using, and again, it's not as relevant now because you can't do it anymore, but just to explain how broken this was, say for instance, it was my turn and I was playing someone that I hate and never wanted to play them again and just wanted to absolutely, destroy them. I would basically start off by, say they won initiative, say I won initiative, either way. Before the game actually starts, in the beginning of the first firefight phase, I would pay 1 command point. And then I would immediately activate my drone controller. And then the drone controller ability is control drone, 1 AP. Select 1 friendly Pathfinder drone operative, and then select one of the following. So first I would just Markerlight one of their models for 1 command point, and then I would use my control drone AP ability, 1 AP ability. And then if that drone operative is ready, after this activation ends, you can activate that drone operative, and until the end of the turning point, it is not considered to have the first 3 bullet points of the artificial intelligence ability. If that drone operative has been activated during this turning point, perform a free dash or shoot action with it. If you perform a shoot action for the activation shooting attack, worsen the ballistic skill characteristic of range weapons by 1. So basically, they were using this to basically chain activate with a drone. But now you can't do that anymore. And then the chain activation from the drone was the recon drone. And the recon drone has the ability analyze for 1 AP. Select 1 enemy operative visible to this operative, and then select 1 other ready friendly Pathfinder operative that is not within engagement range of an enemy operative. After this operative's activation ends, you can activate the other friendly operative. and during its next activation, each time it makes a shooting attack against the enemy operative in the roll attack dice step of the shooting attack, you can re-roll any and all of your attack dice. This operative cannot perform this action if it's within an engagement range of an enemy. So basically, you would chain activate with the recon drone and then allow someone else to shoot afterwards. So you basically would analyze an enemy model. You would then give that guy full re-rolls, and then as soon as this drone was done, you would then get to activate like your, marksman, pathfinder, etc., and just shoot like a rail rifle or overcharged plasma. It was just too strong. So that is gone now. You don't have to worry about that anymore. No more chain activations for anybody more than 2 guys. And then obviously you can't do this if your opponent has, you can only do this if your opponent has first turn. I think this is all fair. I think it's good balance and I really like it. So moving on past the chain activations and the worthy cause, do I think it was necessary for it to go to 2 command points? We'll see if people still use it. I think it'll be useful at times, but I think now it's some special abilities are terrible. So some of these tactical plays are terrible. So this isn't terrible now, but it's probably a lot less relevant to the game. So going on from there, next we have the Assault Grenadier Pathfinder operative. So delete the final sentence of the Grenadier ability. So reading the Grenadier ability, this operative is equipped with the EMP, fusion, and photon grenades. See page 66 for their stats. They do not cost any equipment points. And then the last sentence that's deleted, those grenades that have the limited special rule can be selected for this operative used twice instead of once. So previously limited meant you only got him 1 time. This special ability meant that he got basically 2 EMP grenades, 2 fusion grenades, and 2 photon grenades. Now granted, this is not super relevant because typically you would sacrifice this guy. He may run up and throw 1 or 2 grenades in 1 or 2 turns and then get killed. So it's not that relevant for him to have 6 grenades. But in my opinion, the grenades are all really good. EMP, fusion, and photon all have their own special uses. So I'm not mad about it. You can also still spend equipment points and take other grenades on other guys. So in my opinion, this doesn't really hurt him. He's definitely still going to be showing up in every game. He's definitely still going to be great. But he's balanced now. So I like that. Now he just gets 1 of each of those grenades. Doesn't really hurt the team. Still, the Pathfinders are going to be strong. And then the final nerf for the Pathfinders, I know it seems like a lot, because basically this is their 4th nerf in a row. Benefit of 5+ Markerlight tokens. In the select valid target step of the shooting attack, the enemy operative is treated as if it has an engaged order, unless it is in cover provided by heavy terrain. So previously it was in the select valid target step of the shooting attack, the enemy operative is treated as if it has an engaged order. So it just adds in unless it's in cover provided by heavy terrain. So if you're not familiar with Markerlights, if you have 1 or more, you can re-roll 1 of your attack dice. If you have 2 or more, they gain no cover when you shoot at them. If you have 3 or more, you improve the ballistic skill of ranged weapons by 1. If you have 4 or more, in the select target step of shooting attack, the enemy operative is not obscured. And then if you have 5 or more, we just read that. So this is very important, in my opinion, because it was too good before. Now it's still completely the same. Everything is completely the same unless the guy you're trying to shoot at is behind heavy cover. So previously, if you could get line of sight on this guy, you could take away everything. You could completely buff your guy, take away all the negatives for shooting at him, and it was like you were shooting at him wide in the open, even though he was behind heavy cover and concealed. Now, if he's concealed behind heavy cover, you can't use this ability on him. You cannot shoot at him because he's still blocked. So that's huge, in my opinion, because it doesn't take away his conceal order. Therefore, he can't be shot. So again, I think this is very fair. If he's in light cover or he's not, in conceal order, this doesn't change anything. It's only now if he's in heavy cover that this is a nerf to the Pathfinders. And I think it's completely fair. Because the problem before is that you would almost have to build boards with too much line of sight blocking or too much heavy cover to make sure that it was fair in case a Pathfinder team showed up. Now, we don't have to worry about that anymore. You can build your board fair, and then it's up to the other person to basically position their models so that they're either behind heavy cover or either completely out of sight. But the fact of the matter was, in most kill team games, it's not fair that every operative of yours would have to be behind heavy cover to where he was completely not visible at all to any pathfinders, or he was just going to take like 20 damage from a rail rifle or overcharged plasma. So it seems like a lot for the pathfinders, but to tell you the truth, having pathfinder teams, seeing all the crazy combos that you can do with them, I think this is all fair. And then because the core rule stops chain activations over 2, it's going to limit some crazy chain activations with like guard and some of the others as well. So I think it's very fair. I think it's in the, spirit of the game. You're supposed to alternate activations. If there's a special ability that lets you have a second activation before your opponent, that's cool, but you should never have more than 2. So there should be no like full on like time walking after you time walk type thing. All right, so moving on past the pathfinders, still very, very good, but now I think they are much more fair, and they're still going to do very well on dense boards. On regular boards, they're still going to do pretty well on dense boards, but now you're going to have to work a little harder with them. No, just like staying static and then just wiping out your opponent. So next we have the commandos. So the dynamite equipment can only be selected once per battle. I don't think this is a huge deal, to tell you the truth. Previously, what was happening is people were taking 2 dynamites and they were putting one on the Dakaboy, and then they were using the Dakadash ability where he could run and then throw his dynamite. They got rid of that. So you had to shoot your gun if you were going to use the Dakadash ability. So it's not that big of a deal. You can still give him a 3rd action point, and then it costs 2 to use dynamite. Normally to like throw the dynamite, which is basically just a very strong grenade. So now you can still move forward 6 inches and then throw a dynamite. It's still very good. You can also use like a breachaboy with dynamite is very good as well, because he can move through a wall. So you could basically use the breachaboy's ram to let him just move straight through a wall that's 1 inch thick or less. So what was happening is, instead of having to like run around a big piece of terrain to get visibility, you would just put dynamite on him. He would run straight through a wall and then have visibility on your opponent's guys and then throw dynamite. So obviously the commandos only have 2 action points. So now you can still give him a bonus action point from either the comms guy or the knob. You can still move him forward through a wall, and then you can still throw a dynamite, but you can only give dynamite to one guy. So in my opinion, the breachaboy with dynamite is very good. There's a bunch of other really good orc equipment as well. I really like climbing ropes on like my sniper or my rocket launcher guy. So I don't think this is bad. I think this is a good move. I think both the pathfinders and commandos are in a good place now, and they're fun and they're fair. So next, this is where the real balance comes in, and this is going to completely change the meta, in my opinion. This is the one, everybody's worried about the Pathfinders getting nerfed or whatever. I don't think that's the case. I think this is where it really matters. Space Marines and Grey Knights. Operative selection. Every fire team except Scout and Tactical Marines can take 1 additional warrior. So previously, Scouts could take 10-man squad, and they can still take 10 guys. Previously, Tactical Marines could take 6 guys, and now they can still take 6 guys. And now all the additional fire teams, Grey Knights included, Death Watch included, and all of the other Primaris ones can now have a 6th model. So that is huge. Death Watch was already very good equipment-wise, but needed another guy. So now they're very strong. Grey Knights were already very good equipment-wise, but needed another body. So again, beautifully balanced. Tactical Marines were already good equipment-wise and had the 6th body, so they're kind of the ones that miss out the most on this. Scouts already had the bodies and were pretty good overall, but lacked the equipment. But the most important thing now, in my opinion, is for the Primaris Marines. Now they have a 6th body. So all of a sudden, Reavers, I think, are really good. I think Assault Intercessors are really good. I think regular Intercessors are really good. I think this is huge. We're going to see so many more Marines with that 6th body. There are so many more options now available to Space Marines. Grey Knights were already good. Now I think you're going to see a bunch of like double falchion Grey Knights. They're going to be awesome. And the same thing with Death Watch. I think we're going to see a ton of Death Watch because, they were already good. Now they're probably amazing. Honestly, I think the Death Watch are like the new Custodes because having that Storm Shield is going to be epic. They're very good. And you can equip them for shooting, combat, whatever. So Space Marines are about to make a new Insurgents. I think this was needed. I think it's crucial that we see 6 Marines now for every team. So now Death Guard. Death Guard operative selection. Plague Marine fire teams can take 1 additional warrior operative. And then Champion operative is instead of 1 warrior operative, not in addition to. So previously, the way it worked was you could take 3 Plague Marines. Let me pull it out here so I don't tell you wrong. Hang on one second. Because previously you could do the split team with either Plague Marines and Poxwalkers, or you could just take all Plague Marines. So it was like 2 fire teams. So the breakdown was before Plague Marine fire team includes 2 Plague Marine operatives selected from the following list. And then the Plague Marine, if your kill team does not include any other leader operatives, 1 Plague Marine fire team can also take 1 Plague Marine champion. So previously you could take 2 regular Plague Marines, a champion, and then you would have 8 Poxwalkers. Now you could take the Plague Marine fire team would be 3 guys, and then you would still replace 1. Instead of getting an extra 1, you would replace 1 with the leader, and then you would still get the 8 Poxwalkers. So that doesn't change. That didn't get any better. It didn't get any worse. But now if you take just Plague Marines, a Plague Marine fire team includes 3 Plague Marines now instead of 2. So now if you take 2 Plague Marine fire teams and no Poxwalkers, you now get 6 Plague Marines, and then you replace the champion with 1. So previously you could only take 5 Plague Marines. Now you can have 6 Plague Marines. If you were taking Poxwalker mixed team, nothing changed because you still get 3 Plague Marines, one's a champion, and then also you get your 8 Poxwalkers. So very good. I like that because the Poxwalker Plague Marine kill team was pretty darn good. It wasn't terrible, I'll tell you that much. Maybe it wasn't the best, but definitely wasn't terrible. Now 6 Plague Marines, that's pretty strong, especially with the bell. So I think, again, that's very balanced. I really like that. I think that's great. So next we have Craftworlds. So operative selection. Every fire team can take 1 additional warrior operative. So again, Craftworlds, in my opinion, was the worst kill team previously. And this is going to make a difference. I don't know if it's a big difference, to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't know that this is going to like change the game completely for Craftworlds and all of a sudden they're just going to be like OP. It helps though. It definitely helps. But let me just find them really quick here. There's so many pages to like try to mark for each of these, so bear with me for 1 second. I think it's right after Thousand Suns. Oh, right after Demons. Okay, so Craftworld. So previously, kill team consists of 2 fire teams selected from the following list: Guardian Defender, Storm Guardian, Ranger, and Dire Avenger. And it says operative selection. Every fire team can take 1 additional warrior. So the Guardian Defender was 5 Guardian Defenders. So now it's going to be 6 per fire team. So you could have 12 of them. And then instead of, you could take a leader instead of. So it just goes from 10 to 12. So 2 extra bodies. The Storm Guardian was 5. So again, it goes from 10 to 12. The Ranger fire team was 4. So now it goes from 5 to 10. And if your kill team does not include any other leader operatives instead. So yeah, it goes to 10 Rangers. And then finally, and you can take mixed teams, obviously. Dire Avengers, 4 Dire Avenger operatives if your kill team does not include any other leader operatives instead. So again, now you could take, say, 5 Dire Avengers, 1 would be your leader, and 5 Rangers. Or you could take 5 Dire Avengers, and then you could take, 6 Guardians, etc. So you could basically have anywhere from 10 operatives in your kill team now if you take Dire Avengers or Rangers exclusively, or you could have 12 operatives in your kill team if you take Guardians exclusively, or you could have 11 if you take 1 of 5 and 1 of 6. So a combination of Guardians and other guys. So I think that's nice. It's definitely going to help Craftworld. They'll definitely be more relevant now. So we'll see how that balances out. I'm still not convinced they're going to be amazing or anything, but we'll see. Dire Avengers are pretty good. Snipers are pretty good. The Guardians are okay. So it would definitely help them. I'm not sure it's going to be a game changer. They're probably just going to go from worst to like mid-tier. So next we have Tomb World. This is a big one here too. I think the Necrons need some help because they're just a little too slow. Flayed 1 operatives. Add 1 to both damage characteristics of the Flayer Claws. So 1 more damage regular and 1 more damage critical. But the most important thing is reanimation protocols. Reanimation protocol tactical ploy is now 0 command points. So that's important for multiple reasons. One, you're going to use that every turn. Every time one of your Necrons dies, you need to be able to spend a command point to do reanimation protocols, because it's almost like priced into your models that they're going to have reanimation protocols. So previously you were basically spending all your command points on that. Now, there's a couple important things about that reanimation protocol is, before it cost you 1 command point, now it's free. So you don't have to spend your command points on it, which is huge, but it is still restricted because you can only use it once per turn. Just because that's the special ability of, or that's the requirement for using tactical ploys. So let's read this real quick. Use this tactical ploy when a friendly Tomb World operative is incapacitated. Before removing that operative from the kill zone, place a reanimation token under its base and leave its order token next to it. If the ready operative step of each turning point before resolving the living metal ability, roll 1d6 for each of your reanimation tokens on a 3+ or a 2+ if it's a Necron warrior operative. Set up the... So for a warrior, he gets up on a 2+. For anybody else, he gets up on a 3+. So now the bullet points are: set up the operative that reanimation token was placed for. It must be as close as possible to the reanimation token and not within engagement range of enemy operatives. It has the D3 wounds remaining. It has the order of the remaining order token, and you remove that reanimation protocol token. So now for free, once per turn, you could place a reanimation protocol token for a guy that dies. So that's pretty awesome. So now every turn, if only one guy dies, you get a reanimation protocol, no problem. If multiple guys die, just the first one, you get to place a reanimation, or whichever one you choose, obviously not knowing if other guys are going to die. So I think that's very good. It's going to make Necrons have command points at their disposal now for either rerolls or their other, abilities. So I think that's very good, because previously you couldn't really use the strategic ploys or the tactical ploy that much because you were waiting because you knew you needed reanimation protocol. So I think this is really going to balance them out a lot. And then obviously kill teams gaining an extra damage is pretty good. Now they're going to go from 4-5. So at 4-5, 1 critical hit and 1 regular hit is pretty much going to kill anything. Or, previously, if you just got 2 regular hits with a flayed one and no criticals, a lot of times you would just do 6 damage and it wasn't quite enough. So I think that's going to put them over the break point and make them nice. I think now, honestly, they're going to be pretty good, because the Devourer Nano Scarabs are pretty good already for flayed ones. So for 3 command points, it was basically like their equivalents of a grenade, which is range 6, limited, indirect, and lethal 5+. And the Nano Scarabs are attacks 4, 3+ ballistic skill, damage 3-4. So pretty good overall. Honestly, I think that this is going to... There's a lot of really good stuff for Necrons now, and I think this is going to fix them. So far, I love this balanced Dataslate. I think it's exactly what we needed to see. And then the final thing is replaced army lists. Over time, certain new army lists will be introduced that are designed to replace similar army lists from the compendium. We recommend the newer army list replaces the older one where balance is concerned. Particularly as an organized player setting up as a tournament, these army lists and their replacements are as followed. So essentially what they're saying is, when they put out the bespoke teams in White Dwarf, it's meant to replace the old team from the compendium. So Forge World is meant to replace the Hunter Clad. Thousand Suns is meant to replace by the Warp Coven, and then the Troop is meant to be replaced by the Void Dancers. So the Void Dancers obviously are the new Harlequins coming out in White Dwarf. The Warp Coven are the new Thousand Suns that already came out in White Dwarf, and then the Hunter Clad are the new... The Hunter Clad already came out in White Dwarf, and they replaced the AdMag. You know what's weird here, though? It doesn't say anything about the Wormblade. But I think they intended to have Wormblade on here, too, to replace Genestealer Cult. So that isn't interesting. That's not on here. Now, me personally, I think you should be allowed to use whatever you want. The regular kill teams, some of the compendium ones are pretty good, and then the White Dwarf ones are pretty good, and the composition kind of changes. But it says certain army lists will be introduced that are designed to replace the kill teams. We recommend the new army list replaces the old one where balance is concerned, particularly in an organized play setting such as tournament. These army lists and the replacements are as follows. So that is strange. They put on the troop and the void dancers, which is not technically out yet, so they were looking into the future obviously on that one, which is good. But they left off the Wormblade. So that is very interesting. But that's also a recommendation. It says we recommend. So that's not technically a rule. It's not technically something that you have to abide by. So it's still up to tournament organizers. I would say let people have their options. Most of the compendium teams, compared to the bespoke White Dwarf teams, are not as good. So makes sense. Also, maybe somebody has the compendium and doesn't have that White Dwarf. So, they're not able to use them at an event or doesn't have the rules for them at all. So I like that it's not an actual, rule, this trumps everything. So overall, balanced Dataslate, I think they killed it. The Pathfinders, although they haven't been performing amazingly well in the tournament scene, like the big tournaments, I think a lot of it has to do with the board construction and using a bunch of those shipping containers. So if you're playing with just your buddies and you don't have a bunch of shipping containers, or you just have the chalnath team set up or whatever, you might not have been having much fun playing against Pathfinders. Now I think they're balanced exactly how they should be. The biggest rule, I think, is stopping the chain activations. Even though it was mostly a problem with Pathfinders, I think that's huge. The Commando Dynamite kind of already got nerfed anyway with the Daka Dash. So now it's really best on the Breacher anyway. So I don't think that's a huge deal. The Space Marines is by far the biggest one because I think that's going to diversify the playing field a lot. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to see way more Death Watch, way more Grey Knights, and way more Primaris Marines. And then as far as Death Guard, you can still take your 3 Death Guard bros with 8 Poxwalkers, but now you can take 6 Death Guard bros, which is awesome too, because if you don't like Poxwalkers, now you're right in line with all the other Chaos teams. I think this further concludes that the new Chaos team, the Heretic Astartes that's coming out in the new box set, I think we can say for sure it's going to be 6 operatives. It's very clear that they want MEQs, Marine equivalents, to be 6 operatives in a kill team. So that's great news. I think that's going to be awesome and very balanced. Craftworld got a boost that they needed, potentially 2 extra members in their team, it's 2 extra members across the board no matter what. So it's just a matter of whether or not they were taking 8 to 10 now, or before maybe 9 to 11, or if they were taking all Guardians, they're going from 10 to 12. So I think that's great news. I think that's going to help them out a lot. And then for Tomb World for Necrons, again, same thing. I think that's perfect. The reanimation protocols thing is huge. Flayed ones, the extra damage is nice and everything. It's going to make them slightly better. I don't think they were bad before. I actually liked the flayed ones before. But I think with the reanimation protocols, that's going to take everything to the next level. So I think we'll see where this is at in a couple weeks, couple months with the new teams coming out. And then obviously just seeing the meta shift. But overall, I think they absolutely killed it on this balanced Dataslate. I think it is very fair. The teams that were taking 14 operatives or 12 operatives were at a huge advantage before. So for the small elite teams, being able to take now a 6th operative is going to balance the game out a lot. I mean, you could still be in a game where you have 6 guys and your opponent has 14 guard, or in this case now 12 guardians. But I think you can manage. And same thing with the Wormblade. You might go up against 12 Wormblade or something like that, but with 6 guys, you can manage. Because once each guy kills one, then you kind of balance it back out. I really like this. I think this is phenomenal. Excellent job balancing. I really like the place that Kill Team is at. Leading up to this, it was already pretty good. There was a couple matchups that maybe weren't winnable or just really, really tough. Now I think they've eliminated that. I think now any team can do extremely well in Kill Team now. I think that the top performers have been brought down a notch and the bottom performers have been brought up a notch. So arguably, Vet Guard have been doing the best recently in tournament play with their 14 operatives. And I think now, technically the Vet Guard didn't get the same nerfs as some of the other teams did, but not allowing more than 2 activations slows them down a little bit because they did have a chain activation for 3 activations. So now 2 activations, still pretty strong. But I think the biggest thing is that everybody was kind of brought up a notch, except for Pathfinders. Everybody else got a bump, basically. Well, and Commandos, I guess. Everybody else kind of got a bump from this. So I think that's going to bring them more in line. And then it's not going to allow the Vet Guard to take advantage of all those bodies in the same way. And I think that's going to make a huge difference. So look out for, a lot of Space Marine teams. I think Grey Knights and I think Death Watch are going to be showing up like crazy now. I think also Primaris in general are just going to be really good. Death Guard, I think we'll probably see some 6-man Death Guard teams, but really the 3 Plague Marines and the 8 Poxwalkers was pretty good. I think now we'll probably see some Craftworld show up, but I think the Void Guard are probably going to be much better. Tomb World, Necrons were already pretty good, or okay. I think now they're going to be pretty good. I don't think it'll change that much. Commandos are still going to be really fun to play, very tactical, very strategic, and I think they're going to be still like top tier, but not overly strong. Pathfinder's been brought down a notch. I think they're still going to be very good, but you're going to have to... Previously, if you just understood Pathfinders and you were a mediocre player, you could beat really good players, especially on the right board. Now, I think you will actually have to be good with Pathfinders. So I think that's very good. I think that's important. And then obviously, all your bespoke teams are going to be really good. I'm super excited to see the new Harlequin team. I have a feeling they're going to be very good. I'm not sure how it's going to work, though. Right now, 8 Harlequin in the troop is really good. They've been performing extremely well, especially in the very dense cover terrain boards in tournament settings. They have some awesome rules, and their movement shenanigans are crazy. They're very fragile, though. But with the Void Dancers, we'll see, because it looks like they're going to do something similar to what we saw with the Wormblade, where they're able to take like character models in their kill team. So the Wormblade have to give up 2 regular operatives. I don't know if the troop is only going to have to give up like a 1-for-1 trade, or if they're going to have to give up 2. I'm not sure it's worth it, because 8 models is the perfect number for them. If they go down to 7 or 6, but get 2 stronger guys, I don't know that it's worth it. So hopefully they will keep their numbers, but get a little more diversity in the team, so it's not just a bunch of players and a leader. But overall, love this balanced Dataslate. I think it's great. In conclusion, this is exactly what Kill Team needed. It's going to completely reset the meta. It's going to, I don't want to say unbreak the game, because it wasn't broken, but it's going to do exactly what it's supposed to, balance the game. We're going to see even more diversity in the field. We're going to all of a sudden start seeing Marine equivalents winning. Maybe we'll see Craftworld competing. Necrons much more competitive. But overall, I think it took away some of the things that needed taken away. Really like this, but let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Let me know what you think of the balanced Dataslate. Do you think it was too much? Do you think it's fair? Are you interested to see where the meta falls out? Are you ready to take some Space Marine equivalents? Are you super excited for the Void Guard or for the new Heretic Astartes? Let me know what you think. I'm loving this. I'm super excited. I cannot wait for the 3 new kill teams. I think the new Harlequins are going to be awesome. I think the Void Guard are going to be awesome. I think the Chaos can be awesome. And I am super excited to play all of them. And who knows, may even start playing a Marine kill team, either Grey Knights or possibly even Death Watch. But honestly, I think the biggest one that's been overlooked so far that might just be amazing right now, I think it could be the Reavers. With the equipment points and the vantage points and punishing vantage points and everything, I have a feeling that 6 Reavers could be really good. So we'll see what's up. Definitely some potential here. I'm not sure if 6 Reavers is going to be better than 6 Grey Knights or better than 6 Death Watch, but they may just be they might be the sleeper in all this. I have a feeling that the Reavers are going to start showing up more often, because people kind of ignore them because they're so bad in Kill Team or they're so bad in 40k, but they were like right on the verge of being good. Obviously, they don't have as good of special weapons and stuff like that, but the grappling hooks and the little wings, allowing them like a free 4-inch move and the ability to fly before the game starts, it could be some good stuff right here. So we'll see what's up. Definitely looking forward to playing some more Kill Team and this going into effect. I really like it overall. Let me know what you think down below. Anything too much? Is there anything they missed? Did they go overboard against the Pathfinders, etc.? Curious for everyone's opinion. So That's it for today. Definitely loving the balanced Dataslate. If you enjoyed the video, if you like this kind of, talking about the games, reactions, reviews, news, all kinds of tutorials for, basically painting, building, converting, magnetisation, lighting, anything for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, and of course some warcry content as well. And then of course we're a commission-based studio, so we show off all the commissions as they go out of the studio. So keep your eyes out for those completed as well, as it is cool to get to show off some of the models as they go out of house. But that's it for today. Make sure to like and subscribe for all these cool content in the future. Appreciate all the positivity, and let me know down below with a comment what you think of this new balanced Dataslate. And that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.